Hi everyone. Today my guest is Shubham Saboo. Shubham's track record at the intersection of AI products and open source is genuinely extraordinary. He's a senior AI product manager at Google, where he works on the AI products that millions of developers build with every single day. His work is largely centered around helping developers build and deploy AI agents and providing feedback from developers to PMs. He's also the creator of the awesome LLM Apps repository on GitHub, which has over 105,000 stars, making it the most popular collection of AI agent examples ever. On top of that, he has published two books, one on GPT-3 back when it was just released, and another on neural search, which covers the embeddings and vector search technology that now powers every RAG system and AI agent you've ever used. In this episode, we'll take a deeper look with him into all of the cool new agentic tools that Google just released, from ADK 2.0 and Agents CLI, and how the experience of building agents has just been upgraded. Shubham, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the Agent Factory.
Thank you for having me, Smatha. It's great to be here. Super excited to talk to you about this.
So Shubham, 105,000 stars on your GitHub repository. That's just not a vanity metric. That's actually 105,000 developers who looked at your work and they said, I need something like this. So take us back to the beginning. What was the original spark behind the awesome LLM Apps repository? And then did you also ever imagine that it could lead to you landing a PM role at Google?
Short answer, no. I haven't imagined any of this to go like that. Uh, so to take you back at the beginning, when I was experimenting with GB3 just came out and I was experimenting with the API. I was putting together a lot of these LLM apps and samples that I was working with, experimenting with it locally. So I thought, like, because I have all these like samples that are like local that I'm experimenting with and working with, maybe I should just structure it, like put it out there on GitHub and structure it just to keep my sanity intact. So whenever I have to reference it back later, I have a structured place to go and find it. Uh, that was the whole point behind putting this GitHub repository. I haven't thought that I would go become anything like this. And few weeks later, when I looked at it, like I had like 5 7 examples up already, and I saw like there are 1,000 stars, which was huge for me, for someone who hasn't got even 100 stars before. So it was a big deal, and that was the moment when I realized maybe it isn't just me who is looking for something like this. Maybe people want stuff like this. People want really usable actual sample code and examples that they can just run with and use and learn at the same time. So that was the spark that led me to building it and keep contributing it. Like a month later, there was like 2,000 stars, and in like few months, it was like 5,000 stars. I was like, okay, this is getting crazy. I should spend more time with it. I should put more energy to it. So I just started putting together everything that I was experimenting with, building locally to that GitHub repo. And the idea was to just like make it open source so that people don't struggle with using it and can build on top of it and make it really, really easy for people to use it. Like today, it has 105,000 stars, 15,000, over 15,000 forks, which is still like all of this is unimaginable, like something that I wouldn't have thought of before. Because and today also it sits at like one of the top 100 most star repos of all time, and even made me to like top 20 Python developers across the globe multiple times, put that in list, and me being not a hardcore coder. So it's a huge deal. And that's how it all started, and that's where we are today.
It sounds like, you were building publicly and you're initially trying to solve a problem for yourself of trying to keep a record of all of the, fast pacing stuff which was happening at that time. And it just turned into something really big. And then to add to that, what I think is really fascinating is you're not just curating, you're also building at Google. You've written books, you've seen the entire arc from GPT-3 to where we are now at with agentic AI. So how has your perspective on what makes a good AI agent changed from when you wrote that book initially to today at Google?
That's an interesting question. Previously, it wasn't even an AI agent. AI agent, like today, we all know it as AI or AI agents. It started way back with machine learning. With GB3, it introduced the concept of a large language model, which is an AI model that we use as part of AI agent. And 3 years ago, if I go back and look at it, the entire graph was prompt engineering. So I don't know, Smita, if you remember that GPT-3 UI where you have to put in like system instruction, prompt, structure it in a way just to make sure that you get something out of the model that you want. So previously, the art was just making sure you get something out of the model that you want, and that we referred as prompt engineering. So back then, if I have to spend time, like I'd spend an afternoon getting structured JSON or something like that. But today it's as easy as passing a pydantic schema and it just works. So a lot has changed now. Like back then, like agent was just a janky loop around a completion call with some string parsing. Today I have 6 agents running on a cron job that does all the work for me. What hasn't really changed is the people who are shipping the most useful apps are the ones who understand their users and the problems. The model is a universal function now. So the model is table stakes. Everybody has the model. Model just produces whatever you want. You don't really have to struggle with prompt engineering and come up with those like magic words to get something out of the model. Your only job now is to shape the problem so that the universal function that you have has something meaningful to work with. So everybody has access to model, but the people who are winning today or outshipping the others are the people who understand their problems better, people who understand their users better. That was true in GPT-3 era as well. So your prompt is as good as your understanding of the problem that you're solving or understanding of the users and problems that you're working with. That's even more true now because now everybody, pretty much everybody, has access to these models and agents. So model is table stakes. Everything around this is harness, which we also have, and in combination, it total becomes agent. Everybody has access to that, but what has become more important is how do you communicate with your agent? How do you talk to your agent? Do you understand the users that you're solving for? Do you understand the problem that you have, and can you shape that? So all of these skills were important today, has become more and more important. We have come all the way from making sure uh, mm, we hammered the model to a way that it can produce the output that we want, to an agent which is super super smart, and the only limitation now is how creative you can get with it, like how clearly you can think about the problem. That's where we are.
I love that, and I actually really like the take that you have on how we went from something super simple of prompt engineering, like you said, to where we're right now at, and how there's certain skills which have like stuck around as being super important, no matter at which stage we were at. So I've heard a lot about Agent CLI, and I'm super excited to see you demoing this for us. Could you explain what exactly is Agent CLI and how can people start building with it?
Yeah, so Agent CLI in Agent Platform is a CLI and skills packages combined to give the models your coding agent. You can use it, first of all, you can use it with any coding agent, be it Gemini CLI, Claude Code, Codex, or any other coding agent that you would like. But what happened before is when you ask those coding agents to build agents in ADK, it might hallucinate at times or it might come up with buggy code. But Agent CLI really fixes that. It is a combo, or it is a package of CLI and skills for building, evaluating, and deploying AI agents on Google Cloud Agent Platform. So everything packaged into a single CLI. All you need to do is just like set up, install one command. Once you do this, and it will, you can do it in your terminal. It will be globally picked up by any of your coding agents, and just like that, automatically your coding agents have access to all the internal tools, the code base and knowledge about ADK and building agents. From there, Agent CLI handles everything like scaffolding your agents. If you want to use evals on cloud Google Cloud Agent Platform, it can do that just from like simple English prompts. It can deploy it in simple command. It can add observability, can do all these things. The simplest way to use Agent CLI is through a coding agent. But if you don't want to use a coding agent, you can just directly use CLI commands. And it packages all these skills that you see here. It's like 7 skills package, which pretty much covers the entire agent development lifecycle. And to see that in action, let's actually get into the terminal and build our first agent using Agent CLI. So what we'll do is we'll just follow this simple tutorial to get started with. It's a Caveman compressor, an interesting example. This agent takes verbose text and grunts it down to caveman style summaries, which is kind of fun. So to get started, all you have to do is copy this command and run it in your terminal, and then you can open any of your coding agents as mentioned before. You can use Gemini CLI, Cloud Code, Codex, or any other agent. So I've already run the UVX command to install the Agent CLI. Opened up a coding agent. Again, you can use any coding agent that you would like. I've opened up Gemini CLI, and we can just get started. That's all it needed. So if I give it this prompt, use Agent CLI to build a caveman style agent that compresses verbose text into technical grunts, it can just start executing just like that. And you'll see it picking up these agent skills from Agent CLI scaffold. So it is working, the install is working fine. We'll allow it, and it will keep building. It will automatically build the agent files and put it in this directory. Here I've created this Agent CLI demo folder under my desktop, and all you have to do is just like allow some commands. So here you see it has created this new folder called Caveman Agent, installed Agent CLI, used all the skills that it wanted, and in maybe less than a minute, you'll have something up and running. Smitha, I remember you were asking me why Agent CLI in the beginning. This is the real use case. This is what you get out of the box. Pretty much everything. Like along with the code, you get the environment, you get everything that you just need to get started with. And then you can just, once it is complete, you can just ask the agent itself to run the app via ADK web locally. So it here we see it has already completed. It has built the Caveman agent using Agent CLI. All these files are in there. It has also tested it out. Here you can see it has
Oh,
provided
no.
this verbose input, and our Caveman agent has converted into this. This is funny. And we can also test it with a web UI. All I have to do
Oh.
is run
So
this
this
like,
this is actually huge. So I think just like a couple months back, what I would used to do when I was using Gemini CLI and trying to build agents using ADK, I would copy paste like stuff from the ADK docs to Gemini CLI to give it more context. But I think now I can skip all of that because we have that prepackaged.
yeah, yeah. And here you see, by the time you were talking, Smitha, it has already spinned up the web UI and it is already running on our local host at this port. But before we get to that, let me start the deployment process. So you can deploy it on Agent Engine, but you can also ask the agent what all deployment options that you have to really understand what you could do with it. So please help me understand the deployment options available for my project. It will figure out and give you all the info that you need, and then you can select which deployment option that you would want to use. Here you see. So it is like actually having an senior engineer working alongside you to really give you guidance whenever you get stuck, or it just works for learning as well, right? Let's say if I'm deploying it for the first time in the Google Cloud ecosystem, and I don't know what my deployment options are, all I can do is just prompt it here, and I get these three options. It also tells me what it is best for, how it works, the cost, all these things. And then all I can say is deploy to Agent Engine. If you remember, Agent Engine is our deployment runtime for deploying AI agents on agent platform that we looked at it when we talked about the Resume and the Ambient Agents. So it will do the deployment. It normally takes around 5 to 10 minutes. That's why we gave it this command. Are you ready to deploy the Caveman agent to the dev environment? Yes. And the good thing is it always asks for explicit approval when you ask it to interact with these external services. Now it will automatically deploy to Agent Engine in next 5 minutes. We can come back to that. But
So it's not going to just like power up a bunch of cloud services without you not knowing. So that's great.
yeah, yeah. And the other great thing about it is you really don't have to leave your terminal to get all of these things done. Before, you would have to go to Cloud Console, look at the agent engine, maybe run a few commands, go and read the doc. And even if you were using coding agent, you have to like give multiple docs link or connect MCP servers and whatnot, right? It was kind of a mess. Now, Agent CLI really brings it all together.
And
Uh,
obviously, also all of the config files, the YAML files, it's taking care of all of that in order to
all
deploy.
of that, and your environment and everything, right? So we can go to this link, the local host with port 8080, and see this come to life. So the cool thing about ADK is you get this nice and sleek web UI to test your AI agents before you put them in production. This is available locally. This is running on my local environment, as we saw before in the terminal. And here I can just open this app to test it out. I can just like this, you see here, you see the nice chatbot that I've got. I can send a message, hi, to our Caveman agent and see what it replies. Okay, how are you doing, maybe? And here you see on the side panel, you can see all these events as we are chatting. It is taking logs of all the events that are working here. You can see the states, artifacts, all these things are available, which will help a developer to get the full understanding of how the agent is working, what all features are available, and what they can do with it. Uh, and let's now go back and see where our deployment is. Is it already deployed or not? And then I can show you what it looks like when the agent is deployed through Agent Engine. So we got this link. We'll just paste it in our browser and see what that looks like in Cloud Console. So to remind what we did so far, we installed Agent CLI, opened Gemini coding agent, Gemini CLI, in our terminal. Just put a simple prompt to build the Caveman agent. It was built. Then we opened up the ADK web UI to test it out. All through our terminal without leaving our terminal, we got all of this done. We gave a simple command to deploy it on Agent Engine, and our deployment is complete. This is where we are. Before we go and look at the deployment, let's do another cool thing here. So the next thing that you will want to do with your agent is maybe evaluate, right? Evaluate how they are doing. So maybe we can ask the coding agent to come up with different eval criteria for Caveman agent and run them for us to see how it's working. And this is really important for anything that you're putting in production to really have evals ready. And now with Agent CLI, your coding agent can do that for you. So meanwhile, this command runs, what we can do is go to our browser. So I just opened this link in our browser. Here you can see this Caveman agent being deployed. You can see the dashboard. You can see the traces, identity, all the production ready features just plugged in through a single deployment. You even have a playground here to test it out. And the same thing that we saw in the local ADK web UI is also available in the Cloud Console. You can look at all these logs here. You can see the Caveman agent replying. And this service is now accessible for anyone, everyone. You can just like share the deployment endpoint, and things could be built on top of that. So we are here. Next thing, let's look at the status of our evals that we asked the agent to generate. We asked the agent to generate like 20 eval criteria for. We asked the coding agent to generate 20 eval criteria. Lots of agents. It's like building agents with agents. Generate 20 eval criterias, and here you see it has generated all these eval criterias. And the best thing about this is it won't only generate the eval criteria, but it also test the agent against those eval criteria. It'll take a minute or two to do that. We can come back to it later. And the next thing that you could really do here is extend your agent. I want to go back to the docs and show you how you can extend the functionality of the simple Caveman agent that we built through simple prompts. All the way to the bottom, we have built the agent. We have already deployed the agent on Agent Engine. We have asked the agent to write evals, and it is already running them for us. Next thing that you will want to do is uh, add tools to your agent. So to add a Google search tool to your agent, all you need to do is just add this like simple prompt, and it will automatically add Google search to your agent. If you want to make your agent workflow multi-agent and add more A2A agents, you can use this multi-agent prompt. You can build a RAG agent where you could have grounding in your docs or in your database. So we have all these templates which lets Agent CLI create these agents in pretty much 99% of times. I should say 99% of the times. Uh, in one shot. So the next thing that we will look is how we can add a Google search tool. So our Caveman agent have access to current events, and it has access to the internet, which makes it even more fun. But what you can do is actually uh, add any of these tools and integrations that we talked about here. All these tools are available at your disposal. Here you see the agent generated these evals, tested it for us, and the good thing is all the evals are passed. If something hasn't passed, it will flag them as fail, and what you would do then is again ask your coding agent what failed and what we can do to fix them. But the next thing that I want to show you here is how you can add a tool to your agent. It's as simple as this. So it will have all the context of adding a tool, what kind of tools exist in the ADK agents ecosystem, what are the syntax for adding these tools, and just works. Here you see this is adding tool in real time as we speak. And once it adds the tool, we can ask it to restart the local version to pick up the changes. It will automatically run a smoke test for us. Yeah, so here you see it is writing the code for adding Google search tool. And not only it writes the code, it also does a smoke test for us so we know that it is working. Uh, Here it has asked the question about the latest model news, and the caveman responded in his own language, which is super cavemanish. Yeah, model wars hot. Buy more H100s. H1, good advice. Of course, we need more compute. Yeah. So yeah, overall this is working. Just to recap, we built an agent, we deployed it on Agent Engine, we ran a local version through ADK Web UI to test it out. We created evals, we added tools, all of this in what, like 10 minutes, Smita?
So this is super exciting. It seems that it's easier now than ever to build AI agents, and I can see a lot of developers being really excited about this. Especially, I've noticed how easy it is to deploy this from your local machine where you're building it with a coding agent like Gemini CLI directly onto the cloud. That's awesome. I think this is a huge game changer. You also mentioned multi-agent systems. So could we look at your next demo on building a multi-agent PR roster using Agent CLI? I'm super pumped for this.
Yeah, that's a fun one. Let's just head back to our Gemini CLI and let me paste this prompt. So, and while it works on the prompt, let me go through what this is. Here is what I prompted the Agent CLI, the Gemini CLI, to do. Build a multi-agent PR roster using ADK and Gemini. What it will do is create a Streamlit app with two ADK agents. One agent will just go to GitHub, analyze any PR. All we have to do is just drop a PR URL, pull request URL. It will go and automatically analyze the PR for code quality, bugs, security, performance, all the standard things. So one agent will just act as our code analyst or code reviewer. And the second agent, which is the fun part, will be our roast master. Based on the analysis that we get from our first agent, what it will do is will create a roast and a meme prompt for Nano Banana to generate an image. So that meme prompt will go into the Nano Banana Gemini Flash image model, and it will generate a meme at the end. So this is how the workflow will hopefully work once Agent CLI will generate uh, the thing for us. And here it is giving us like some options. You can choose like any of these options, like go with this Streamlit orchestration, and then it will run for a few minutes. and create an app. What to save us some time, what I already did is prompted it before this call and created the app, saved it to a GitHub repo. Let's look at the code and also deployed it through Agents CLI. Then we can look at the deployed version and see how it really works. And maybe Smitha, you can give me a PR that you want me to roast, that you want our agent to roast, and we can have some fun.
Sounds good. I actually have like 2 PRs pulled up, which would be great to roast, which I recently created. So yeah.
So as mentioned, this is how it would work. It also created, cherry on the top, it also created a README for me to explain to you guys what this app or this multi-agent app would do. We have a code analyst, which is analyzing the code, which is feeding into the roast master, and roast master writes jokes, meme prompt, and give a verdict, just like a score on how good the PR is. And then in the end, based on the meme prompt, the Nano Banana image model, Gemini image model, will generate the meme for us. So this is what the deployed version or the fully built up app looks like. Simple prototype, but really fun idea. All you have to do is just enter your Gemini key here, GitHub token, optional. If you want, you can put it here. Depends on the traffic limiting. And all we need to do is just drop a PR link. And let me share like what this PR is about. Like this is the PR that we got from ADK samples repo. Smitha, you created this. Let's see what it comes up with. This is interesting. I'm excited about this one.
I'm very
Uh,
curious to see this being roasted. I've honestly not had any of my PRs roasted besides obviously from other software engineers. So let's see. It'll be nice to get it roasted by an actual AI agent.
awesome, awesome. And the roast is already in. We ran the PR. It reviewed it just like any technical reviewer would. So code quality looking good. Not a lot of logical issues and bugs. This is looking good as well. So pretty good, Smitha. Like you got a 9.2 out of 10
9 out of
score.
2, I think that's great.
Yeah, 9 out of 10, 9.2 out of 10. It's pretty
Oh,
good, pretty good. Let's look at the roast. And you tell me if this is funny or not.
okay.
So
Calling load.env twice in the coding environment of checking if you lock the front door, walking to your car, and then going back to check again while your house is literally on fire because of your air handling. Okay, fair enough.
did you know about this one? Or is
Actually,
this
no. So I set the maps API key equals to no API found instead. Yeah, I should have used like a normal, I
interesting?
should
The
have thrown
agent
the
caught
error,
this.
but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. This
Why
is
crash
funny.
gracefully when you can gaslight the MCP tool into an auth midlife crisis at runtime? Okay, fair enough.
Hard coding Gemma. Not your fault. It's a very good model. So I'll
Yeah,
go with that. Yeah, but this is funny.
that's true.
Interesting. Okay, now let's look at the meme that it generated. Okay, this is and the
Okay, fair enough.
final verdict is here. You built a Ferrari, but tried to fuel it with a sticky note that says gasoline not found, which is a reference to this one. It's funny.
Oh my god, okay. This was a really good roast.
So hopefully the agent is working. Agent CLI is doing his thing, and we successfully created our first multi-agent app without even getting into an IDE. So we did all of this without getting into an IDE, all from terminal coding agent and agent CLI to the working app that is deployed uh, online, which is pretty crazy and pretty insane. If you would have asked me, like, can you do this? Like, if you would have asked me 6 months ago, is it possible? I would be like, maybe, but now we can do it, which is super crazy and interesting.
This is so cool, and I think this would be great for people to check out. Is this something that they can build using your prompt? Is this prompt available on the ADK Docs website?
So we'll be open sourcing the GitHub repo that we looked at, and what we'll do is just like drop the prompt in there, because here's the code. Prompt history is the new code. All you need is prompt to regenerate the code.
Nice. Okay, link in the description box below if you're interested in also getting your PRs roasted like me, so you can check that out and build it yourself. Google Cloud Next just ended, and Google announced some really massive updates, and you are at the forefront of this. So let's talk a little bit about ADK 2.0, building production grade autonomous agents with ADK, and then also super cool, the new Agents CLI in Gemini Enterprise Agent Platform. What does the new framework unlock for developers?
Yeah, so we introduced quite a few things at Google Cloud Next this year, and one of the most fascinating ones is ADK 2.0, something that I'm genuinely excited about. Let me walk you through some of the interesting things that comes with ADK 2.0. So, first one that you see on the screen is graph-based agent workflows. Now, why do you need graph-based agent workflows when you can just stuff everything in an agent or a multi-agent? You have like your instruction model and tools, and it has been working for a while, right? uh, but before you would define, what would happen previously is you would define your multi-agent workflow mostly through prompts. It worked, but then you would see your agent start taking shortcuts after several turns, or start becoming lazy, what some people would call. Okay, my agent has become lazy, I have all this context in, but by the time it gets to fifth or seventh turn, it forgets what it did in the first turn, or it forget that it has access to some of the tools. So that's the problem that most of the agents suffer in production environments. It would forget the rules, it would forget the tools that it would have access to. But with graph-based workflows, what you can do is now explicitly draw the flow of your agent. What that means is the paths that need to be deterministic can stay deterministic, like compliance checks or auth, where you don't really need an intelligence or an agent to really jump in. It's a straightforward logic which needs to stay as is, and it is very important that the logic stays deterministic and does not change with agent running it for 5 times or 7 times or 100 times, right? uh, and the parts where you want the model's judgment, those are reasoning nodes, and that's where you could have the model decide and dynamically take those decisions. So the same workflow gives you access to both kind of logics, which you can put together and have it run in your production environment. It's a pretty clean pattern. Once you see it, you get the flexibility of an agent along with the deterministic workflow or the reliability of function where you need it. The second thing that I want to show you is the changes that we made to agent runtime. Two features that I'm really excited about is ambient agents and resume agents. And why do they matter? So most of the agent demos that you would see are 30-second demos or 2-minute demos where yeah, you'll see agent running in a loop for a minute or two, and then it does the task, like it completes the task and then just like turns off. But this is way far from the production reality. Production agents sometimes have to run for hours and hours and maybe days at times. When a user asks something, the agent calls a few tools, it answers done. Production doesn't really look like that. Production environment normally has drop connections, services that go down, some events that are firing at 2 a.m., workflows that span hours or days. So these are the two features that help any production agent survive that reality. Let's look at the resume agent first. So what that really is? Resume is actually what it sounds like. If your agent gets interrupted, a network drops, a service goes down, or whatever, it picks up where it actually left off. You just flip a flag on top of app config, and it just works. It tracks which tools already ran, skips them, continues from the break. Before you would have to restart everything from scratch, but now your agents can just resume where they left off. It's a
So,
pretty
this is
cool.
really cool. I mean, it's just like one line of code or like one flag that you need to
It's
turn
just
on.
one flag. Yeah,
Wow, that's
it's
awesome.
just this, like, is resumable true? That's all you need to do, and your agents can resume at specific intervals when something breaks. Now moving on to the even cooler part, the ambient agents. So I guess all of you might have heard about OpenClaw, Hermes agents, all these like autonomous agents that run for days and days. Like I myself run an agent team, like 6 AI agent team using OpenClaw. It runs 24/7 doing all kind of stuff for me. So, how do you build something like that, which is customized for your enterprise, for your environment, that can do the specific job reliably? Reliably being the keyword here, that can do the specific job for you reliably in your production environment. Ambient agents is the way to do that. These are the agents that these are actions. So I want to take a step back here. Like normally you would have an agent, you would run it in production, and you would have like specific things to do. But agents are only as smart as your trigger to it, right? You would want these agents to autonomously execute. You would want these agents to decide and have like some trigger events which execute or trigger them. These are the agents. Ambient agents are the agents that react to those events without you prompting them. If you're prompting them, maybe your agent is not that intelligent. But when your agent is deciding to execute themselves based on certain triggers, it is becoming more like human. It is becoming more ambient and intelligent, or more proactive than reactive. So with ambient agents, what you can do is you can have them triggered to specific events. It could be a pub sub message coming in and your agent runs. A file lands in your cloud storage or in your local drive and it runs certain agent workflows. Or there's a cron job which you can set, and at that specific time, you can your agents or agent team or whatever your logic is, it runs automatically. So you get concurrency limits, retries, dead letter queues, all of that out of the box. Before, you have to write all of this yourself. And even with that, you would not really have something that would be proactive in nature. And the last thing that I want to talk about is ADK support for multiple languages. ADK is one of the frameworks which is true multi-language in nature. We have Python, we have TypeScript, we have Go and Java. So really meeting developers where they are. You don't really need to learn Python or move everything to Python to use a production grade agent workflow. You can use it in the language that you like, or you can use it in the language that your existing workflows are. That really opens up a lot of teams who weren't going to rewrite the stack for building agents. Now, anyone and everyone can just build production agents using these languages, using the languages that they would like.
I think
And the next,
I can just envision so many developers being excited about all of these SDKs for ADK now. And also, I just love the look of the new adk.dev website. It's great.
awesome. Thank you so much. And all of these are open source. So if you are a geek or if you are really interested in looking at the source code, all you need to do is just like click any of these repo and you can actually see the source code. So all of these repos are open source. You can look at the source code and you can build and extend on top of this framework as well. That's the cool thing about ADK that I really, really like. And the next thing that I want to talk to you about is the open ecosystem that we have built around ADK. So what we did is actually went out and asked developers the tools that they would want to use, not just Google tools, anything and everything that they would want to use with their agents. So what we did is we put together an open ecosystem of tools and plugins, which you can use with ADK, with your ADK agents, with just a line of code or a few lines of code, right?
Shubham, looking through your recent publications on X, which you're doing a great job of, by the way.
Thank you.
And I see a lot of your posts going viral all the time. So you've been dropping some serious knowledge bombs. I want to dig into a few of your core philosophies, especially your thoughts on OpenClaw and what it's like being a PM building AI for AI, as you've mentioned many times.
Yeah, interesting. So let's start with the OpenClaw one. Just for the context for people who don't know, I run a 6 AI agent team with OpenClaw that works for me 24/7, pretty much handling anything that I do outside Google. So managing my social media, newsletter. There is an engineering agent called Ross who actively manages the awesome LLM Apps open source repo. He makes sure all the
Wait, is
PRs that
this Friends inspired? I have to ask.
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, the fun story. It all started with Monica being my chief of staff. So main agent, when I was creating, installing OpenClaw, it starts with the first agent, which is your main agent. I was like, what should be my first agent? It's like, okay, because I really like Friends in the office. I was like, let it be Monica. So that's how Monica became my chief of staff. I did not started with the idea of running multi-agent team, but as the use cases expanded, as we had agents had more context, it's me and my agent working through the process of deciding how our agent org looks like or what our agent org should look like. And that's the fun part, right? uh, when you start with something like OpenClaw, you are so much bought into the hype cycle. You look at all the fancy demos on X and YouTube, and you're like, okay, this is the thing. Like, I'll install OpenClaw and it will change my life. I'll just So people install it, they fire up their first agent, and from the get-go, they started asking some very specific questions and get garbage output, right? They expect magic but get mediocre output, and then they blame the framework. They're like, oh no, it's not great, it's not working. And I see these kind of people operating in two extremes. One is people who would not give any context. They are super excited, pumped, because they're directly coming from X and YouTube. They're like, okay, I'll do this, install, get started, and that's like, oh, this does not work for me, because you haven't given any context to your agent or to your model. It does not know anything specific about you. It's a generic model, it's a generic agent, so expect generic answers. And then there are people on the other side of extremes, which will be like, okay, let me give this agent context, let me dump everything that I have on me or my company, all the like 5, 10, 100 files onto the agent. Then you're doing context explode. So treat agents like like a human, because when you do the context explode, it becomes really really difficult for the agent to figure out, what are you specifically looking for. And it becomes really really difficult for agent to figure out like what is the specific uh, information that really matters. The agent drowns in context, it cannot really tell what matters from what it not. So the fix is really simple here. It's pretty much how you would onboard an intern or a new employee. You don't dump the entire company's information to them on day one. You tell them who you are, what you do, what you need from them. You start simple, you start slow, and then you build from there and there on, right? You slowly build on top of that. The agents learn through you. The best way that I found this to be working is let the agent interview you, ask you follow-up question to learn about you. And that's the process that worked with me and Monica. When I created Monica, she started asking me question. What can I do for you? What do you like? What you don't like? And slowly giving this very specific context, she started building something called soul file, her personality. So soul file is a very specific file which helps agent to decide what their personality is. And through this conversation, Monica automatically started adding things in her soul file. And whatever she's learning on me or about me, she started putting it together in user.md file. So the agent is already very smart. It's how you deal with them. They've already started, like she's already started figuring out how to structure the information, where to put what, and how to make sense out of these things. But the only thing that really mattered here is the specific context that you give to your agent. So treating your OpenClaw agents as an employee is the only fix. It seems difficult, but it is not really that difficult. It is just like talking to your agents, onboarding them as a real employee.
So, based on what you're saying, it seems that communication is more important than ever now. A lot of people assume that, when you're working with AI agents or working with AI in general, you don't have to communicate or over communicate like you would when you're dealing with humans. But that seems to not be the case. It seems that, you do want to over communicate, and communication is more important than ever.
Yeah. I mean, to normally summarize, whenever I tell these things to people, like soft skills are becoming more important than you would think. Basic skills like communication, understanding the problem, user empathy, all of these are becoming really, really important, because the technical part for agents is either being solved or getting solved. But the only part that would remain is how you would interact with them, how you would deal with them. Just like the simple example that we saw with setting up the OpenClaw agent, Monica, right? Uh, it could be worse or it could be really good depending on how you communicate with them, how you interact with them. So that's really the key here.
You're also a senior AI product manager at Google, but you're specifically working in what people call, the AI of AI space, building AI dev tools that are explicitly designed to build other agents. So, what is it like managing products where, the end user isn't just a human developer, but another AI? And can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So something started shifting almost last year, or like the end of last year, when the users of your product are not only just humans, they're also agents. Because when we build all these sophisticated systems, what would you expect to happen next, right? The agents will build agents themselves, right? And in this episode itself, we talked about agents like Gemini CLI, with Agent CLI using tools, deploying on agent engines. There was no human interaction human interaction required for using those services. There was no human interaction required for me to build agents, to deploy agents, to run evals. All of them were agents building agents, right? So when we are designing these products, we have to keep in mind that humans are not the only user anymore. And that changes a lot of things. Human user would tolerate a little bit of slow onboarding. They may read a help text when they are confused. But when it comes to an agent, they just parse to the first thing that they see. Every interface you design has to work for humans as well as AI agents.
Let's have some fun. Rapid fire round. I'll give you a statement and you tell me agree, disagree, or it's complicated. And then also you give me a quick reason why. Ready? Let's go.
Yeah.
RAG is dead and fine tuning is the future.
Damn. I would say it's a wrong framing. It used to make sense a year ago. I would reframe it as RAG versus long context. Because Karpathy's LLM wiki, I'm not sure if you're following, but recently Karpathy introduced this idea of LLM wiki, which is kind of your second brain, which structures everything that you've been doing and reading. Uh, and it showed how you can skip RAG with long context. So I would say the debate is more around RAG versus long context now. And yes, it's complicated.
The best AI agent architecture is the simplest one that works.
100%. Like, I've reviewed a lot of LLM apps, LLM chat apps, AI assistant, AI agents over the course of last 2 years. The ones that gets most popular are the ones that have the simplest architecture. So people should be able to run it. They should be able to understand the code that it has. All of that in the easiest way possible. So simplest architecture always wins.
Open source AI models will surpass proprietary models within 2 years.
Complicated. On specific benchmarks, maybe open source is catching up in a big way. So it is getting better and better. What we saw with Quen and Gemma 4. But I would envision a future where 80% of your use cases would be done by open source model, but still you would rely on frontier closed source model for 20% of the use cases, which might not be something that everybody need, but which would be something that's like state of the art, highly complex logical reasoning tasks. You would still rely on closed source models. So complicated, but open source is getting there.
Okay, I think that's like a very hot topic. So a lot of people will be interested. Every developer needs to understand embeddings and vector search.
I agree. So if you're building anything with memory, retrieval, personalization, you're touching embedding. You really don't need to be a math wizard to understand embedding. I'm not asking you to like understand from statistical point of view, but at least understand the core concepts. At least understand what changes when you change the chunk size or when hybrid search beats vector search. Just having a basic understanding of these concepts, why cosine similarity is not always the best metric, all these things makes a lot of sense, even specifically more so in the agent world where memory is the key layer, where retrieval is more important than ever. Strongly agree that people should understand and really learn about embeddings. Vector databases, vector search, debatable, but embeddings, yes, 100%.
AI agents are overhyped, and most use cases just need a good prompt.
It's rich coming from me. Yes. Most use cases can just do with a good prompt to a single API call. You don't really always need an AI agent for everything. I know it's a hot topic and everybody just wants to build AI agent for anything and everything that they want to do. Just like for Caveman, we built an agent. We did not have to, but just to show a concept, we did. But you don't really have to build agent every time. Like if you can get away with a simple API call, start with that. If it's a simple workflow, that's all you need. Start simple and decide based on the data, where the data leads you or where the problem leads you. Based on the problem, build complexity. Don't start with complex multi-agent workflow based on, again, what you see from X or YouTube or like a lot of people talking about it. Not always you need all those like complex things. So start simple. You don't really need agents for anything and everything that you're doing. Just a simple model call will mostly do the thing with a good prompt. And then if you need, go and build agents.
This is like a huge one, even for me. I have to keep reminding myself, even if I'm building something like a demo, not everything needs like 10 different agents running at the same time. The biggest bottleneck in AI right now isn't the models, it's evaluation.
Yes, 100%. It becomes more true when you're building complex agents, which is not just the models, but models plus tools plus context. So it is interacting with the multiple components, and there are like multiple layers involved. And most of our evals these days are mostly vibes based. Okay, this looks good this way, because to be honest, there hasn't been a standard way to evaluate agents or evaluate these workflows. But a lot of these technologies and products are built in that direction. It is getting more and more important. That's one thing that we saw in our agent step Caveman agent demo, where we asked it to write eval criteria. So evals are very, very important. I would highly recommend to evaluate your agents before putting them into production. Don't just fly by good vibes. Okay, this looks good, and let me put it in production, because high chances that something could break in production. You would not even know what caused the error for these agent workflows.
And then to end it off, I always ask all our guests this one question. So, what is the one AI tool, framework, or concept that you could never give up?
Now, if you would have asked me like 2 months ago, it would be very different. Now I would say like my AI agents. So my AI agents is my interface to any and every AI tool that I use. I just like ping Monica or my other AI agents, we want to do this, and they figure out whatever tools that they want to use, which also gets into something that we talked about, that all these products are being mostly more and more used by agents and not just humans. So my AI agents is something that I cannot really live without and cannot give up, because they are my interface to pretty much everything that I'm building these days.
Shubham, this has been an incredible episode. Thank you so much for coming to the Agent Factory.
Thanks, Smita. It was great to be here. Thank you for having me. If you want to build what I showcased and more, check out adk.dev and Agents CLI in Agents platform. That's your way to go.
I'll be linking everything we mentioned in the description box below, along with a bunch of viral articles that Shubham has written on things like the 5 agent skill design patterns, as well as the complete developer's guide to building ADK agents with skills. Check out this next episode to see all of the cool stuff you can build with Gemini 3 along with Gemini CLI.